going back to the home page, if you wanted to make just a quick payment on the policy, the insured does have to have their policy number and their payment amount. So up here in the left-hand corner, you can enter in the policy number, and then you're going to click Make a Payment. Unfortunately, this is a test system, so it does not work, but a box comes up, you enter in the amount, the payment method, and then hit Submit, and it'll automatically post to the policy. And then also, we have the Message Center. We don't have it here in test, but in production, if you log in, you'll see a whole bunch of messages right now in there, you know, welcoming Texas and Florida agents and, you know, how to register for training, the training guides, things of that nature. So all of that information is under the Message Center, and you can also click the box as well. And this box will come up and it will break it down by, you know, any news that we want to let you know, or binding restriction, you know, promotion, rate revision, anything like that. So that will be there for you. Any questions before we move forward into doing a quote? Okay, so moving forward here, in the next section, we're going to learn how to do a quote. So you can go to quotes and quick quote, and this is going to take you to do a direct quote on the policy. Obviously, if you have a rater, then you're going to want to make sure, you know, you'll do your quote and then you'll bridge over to the new system, and I will show you where you will land once we get to that point. So otherwise, you're going to come to this here. Go ahead and you want to make sure that you enter a name and a phone number. Even if you don't know the phone number, just put 0s or 8s or something for the time being. Otherwise, you will get an error message. So you just want to make sure that you put something there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this information. I'm going to do a Florida quote here. So once you type in the producer or the zip code and you hit tab or enter, you're going to have the city, state, and county, and then your agency name, personal auto, and 6-month policy. And you're going to go ahead and hit continue. Now, this might come up. As you can see here, I've done other policies with the same last name. So if you get this box, you know, it could be maybe a quote or something like that. Maybe you can't find their quote or whatever. This box will come up and it'll either be listed here as a quote number or a policy number. You can open it up by just clicking on the green arrow if that's the one that you want. Otherwise, you can just click New Client, and that'll take you to doing a new quote. So once you do that, it lands you here on the policy info page. And if you're doing a direct quote, you can enter in just, you know, basic information to get a quote. You don't have to enter in, you know, a driver's license number or, you know, a full VIN or anything like that. However, me personally, I think it's a little bit quicker if you enter in as much information as you can, only because the second time around, you can just kind of go through the tabs fairly quickly and not have to, you know, open up each one. So, but whichever is your preference will definitely work for you. So I'm going to enter in the address here, enter in a birth date. And if you scroll down, if you do have a secondary policy holder, then you're going to enter their information here. The one thing that I do like to mention is that the name that you have under the policy holder too, and then once we go to the driver tab and you click add a driver for that second driver, this information has to match. So the first name and last name here will automatically populate in the driver screen. But if you decide to add a middle initial or a middle name, you'll have to enter it here as well. Otherwise, you're going to get an error saying that the policyholder 2 needs to be added. So you just want to make sure that those names match. If you are, if your insured has a different garaging address versus mailing address, then all you need to do is just uncheck the box. You're going to put in your mailing address over here, your garaging address over here, and move on through your quote. A couple questions that came up from an agent a couple weeks ago was she had a P.O. box for the mailing address, and she thought that it wouldn't let her proceed because it had the asterisk here for the street number and the street name. So I told her no, it would let her go through, just something has to be filled out here. So just a little tidbit on that. If they're the same, you can just keep the box checked and then just have the one address. If you need to change the effective date of the policy, let's say, again, they come in on a Monday, today's Wednesday for their quote, and you need to change the date, then you can just click here and click effective date, click to modify. And this box will come up here. You can either type in the date or select from the calendar, and then just make sure to hit save. I only like to mention that because if you click here in the box, we did lock it down, but depending on your computer, things like that, if the cursor is blinking and you try to backspace, it will kick you out of the system. So I just like to let the agents know about that. Moving forward through the tabs, you can either hit next or go to click on the tab itself. So I'm going to click on the driver tab. And as you see that it opens up to our named insured. Again, you can enter in as much information as you want or as little as you want to get your quote. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and just fill out, everything here. Put in the license number. So one thing that I do like to mention is if you have a foreign driver's license, and let's say it's a Mexico license and you put MX for Mexico for the country, when you tab over or click over, the state is going to default to blank. So you just want to make sure that you click on either the state if you know it, or you can just put NANA. Not when you're doing your original quote, you don't have to do that, but the second time around you will have to fill that out. Otherwise, again, you're going to get an error saying that the state is not filled out. So just FYI on that. Otherwise, you can just, put in that information there. Over here to the right, we have our relation to policy holder. So you have that information here. You've got rated or excluded, your different license statuses, your license types, and then your occupation. So you just fill that information out. If you need to add any accidents or violations, you would click on the accident violation tab, click add violation, select from the drop down, and then enter in the date and then just hit save. You don't have to fill anything else out. It will automatically surcharge once you do your quote. So you just need to put in the violation type and then the dates and then go ahead and hit save. For any additional violation, you just keep hitting add violation. If you're insured or your insureds need an SR22, then you can go ahead and just click on the drop down for the filing required, and you want to make sure you select SR22 required. This is going to tell the system that they need to send it to the state electronically. So you want to make sure that you choose that. The SR22 filing box here will automatically check off once we quote the policy. And then for Florida, the filing fee is $30. So that's how you do the filing. Once you have all of your information saved, then you can go ahead and just hit save driver. And then any additional drivers or excluded operators, you would just click add a driver. If you had that secondary policy holder, and again, you put in like Tom Jones, and then you click add a driver, Tom Jones is going to appear. But if you put Tom Lee Jones and put Lee as the middle name, you need to make sure you go back to the policy info tab and add that middle name to that policy holder too, because otherwise that's where you'll get the error message. So, so just FYI on that. Again, moving forward, you can hit next or the tab itself. So I'm going to hit the vehicle tab and you're going to click add vehicle. And you can do a year, make, and model search. So you can, select from the drop downs here, and then your model will come up, and then you can hit manual lookup. When you do that, a box will appear, and you'll select the vehicle that best fits, and then everything else will populate. Just, it'll be a partial VIN and everything like that. If you have the VIN number, then you can go ahead and just type in the VIN, hit manual lookup. Everything will pre-fill for you. The only thing you will have to do, whether you do a year, make, model lookup or entering as the VIN, is going to the use and selecting either business or personal. So you do have to do that. And then also, although not required when you're doing a quick quote, you do eventually will have to do the damage here. And so you can select yes or no. Again, you can do it the first time around or the second time around, but you do want to make sure that you fill out that damage part of it. If you need to add a lien holder or an additional interest, you're just going to click on the tab there, click add additional interest. I had an agent about, I think last week or so, somehow, they were able to not choose anything here and enter in the name and everything, and they issued the policy, but the lost payee form didn't print. So you want to make sure that you do select something here, if it's a lien holder, and then type in the name of the lien holder and add the address and everything. So you do want to make sure that you select something there. And then over here with the address, same thing with the PO box. Let's say your Capital One is the lien holder. You can put the PO box. Again, the asterisks are for the street number and street name, but it will let you move on. It's just that just so something is filled out here. So, so that's how you add a lien holder or additional interest. I'm going to go ahead and just do a non-owner's policy just to kind of make it simple. So then you're going to say vehicle. Any additional vehicles that you need to add, you can just keep hitting add vehicle, for every vehicle. So any questions over the last few tabs that we went over? Does anyone have any questions? No, okay. So moving forward here, we're going to go to the coverages tab, and you have your value plus coverages here for liability and physical damage. You do have your roadside here, standard and deluxe. Hopefully you guys are taking advantage of that. It is, one premium for all vehicles, and you can have it for liability only. You have your liability coverages right over here, and then if you need to add comp collision, rental, or towing, that is below here. If you, let's say the insured's like, oh, I bought this new stereo, I want to really, I want to get it covered, then what you're going to do is you can, under this electronic equipment, you're going to click count, add scheduled item, type in the information and then the amount, and then just hit save. You do need to make sure that you keep a copy of this receipt and honestly, maybe even attach it to the policy, which I'll show you later here in the training. But you want to make sure that you either attach it or keep a copy of it in case there is a claim filed against it. Otherwise, there won't be any coverage for it. All the vehicles that you have on the policy will show up under the vehicle basic information, and the word select will be next to each vehicle. So let's say you have 2 vehicles on this policy, and vehicle 1 is liability only, vehicle 2 is going to have comp and collision. You just hit the word select, that vehicle will highlight, so that's the vehicle that you're working on. Your liability coverages are going to be the same across the board for all vehicles. But again, if you want to add any, comp collision, rental, or towing or anything to any other vehicles on the policy, then just hit select and then you can modify those coverages for that particular vehicle. So, so that's the coverage tab. Moving forward to the discounts and prior carrier tab. This current address information for current residents here does need to be filled out. Otherwise, again, you will get an error message that it's not selected. So you do want to make sure that you do select something. I'm going to go ahead and choose owned home so that once we quote the policy and we get back to this tab, these boxes here under the policy level modifiers, they will automatically check off. So then you can just, it'll, check off on its own. You don't have to worry about it. So that's the policy level modifiers. Agent entered prior carrier. This is where you're going to enter in your prior carrier or if they have none. So you have, the drop down here. If they do, you can enter in all their information, regarding the policy number and effective date and everything if they do have proof of prior. If they don't have any proof of prior or it's less than 6 months, you can just choose the none or less than 6 months option. You don't have to fill anything else out, even under lapse status. You don't have to put no prior, lapse plus 30 days. You don't have to do any of that. So just select none or less than 6 months. Once you've entered in that information, you can go ahead and hit view quote. And this is going to take you to your quote, and it looks like our premium is $337. So we have rating successful, we have our insured's name, the premium amount, we have the different payment plans here. There is a second page of payment plans. I think it's like a 34% down or something. So just, be cognizant of that one. Policy level coverages, if you had roadside, your driver information, your vehicle information, your coverages and your premium, and then the policy fee for Florida. So you have all of that information there. And, at this point, if you were using a rater and the insured was like, yeah, that's a good premium, then when you bridge over, this is the page that it's going to take you on. So this is where you will land and you would start issuing the policy from this point. Obviously, if you're doing a direct quote, then this is where, your policy, you come to this page and then again, you can continue on issuing the policy. But if you use a rater and bridge over, this is where you will be landing. Does anyone have any questions before we move forward?